Welcome to Meet the Musicians, powered in part by Classic of Denton. The views and opinions expressed by the show hosts and their guests are those of the show host and guests, and not necessarily those of the sponsors, DentonRadio.com, or the Denton Convention and Visitors Bureau. For more information, visit the Policies and Procedures page at DentonRadio.com. Everybody, we are here with one of my favorites, great local artists that I've had the pleasure of getting to know a little bit over the last few years, Stephanie Untch. Thank you so much for being here and doing this.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Really appreciate you doing this. So we're going to have a performance from you here in just a little bit. But beforehand, we're going to sit down and get to know Stephanie just a little bit, what makes you tick, what got you into music, all those good things. So all these fans can meet this great musician. So, so first question, just give us a general rundown. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I started playing guitar when I was about 12-ish. I had wanted to play because my dad played, and then I picked up on bass in orchestra because I was told, oh, that'll help you learn guitar, and then I ended up really loving bass. Okay. So kind of grew up learning, a bunch of singer-songwriter stuff, and with a mix of weird classic rock from my parents, and then moved to Denton for school, was going to UNT, and started doing my roommate was like, you got to check out this open mic. It was at Banter. Yes. And because it was one of few underage open mics. Yeah. And so I was terrified and ended up playing there and finding this phenomenal community of musicians, and which is where I met you. Right. And I was just a kind of rinky-dink little songwriter. And then I remember one day you kind of added me onto a song swap up at LSA. Right. And I was so excited because it was my first gig. And are
you serious? That was your first gig?
That was my very first gig.
You had such swagger at that open mic.
You gave it to me. I was so nervous.
I was always so impressed with your performance. I thought you'd been doing this forever. Okay, anyways, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Was so scared, so terrified, and but it was also one of the coolest places to play in Denton, and to me still is. Yeah. And so to have my first gig there was so cool. But and anyway, so from there I just kind of was lucky enough to be thrown into some other gigs, other places, and then kind of started branding myself as, a musician and playing other places. Yeah. Was fortunate enough to meet Jason Champion through Ellie Meyer, who was another singer-songwriter, and he helped me record my songs, and I was able to get my first album out. And once I had that, I just kind of sent it out, got my music places, and I remember one summer, I think it was 2014, I just spent all summer, every day I had a gig, and that was my goal, and it was cool. Phenomenal just to get my music out there and get experience gigging, because there's a difference between writing songs in your bedroom and playing them for people and getting that criticism and finding people that love your music. And so it was just really a great time for me to kind of find myself as a musician and playing with other musicians in Denton and writing with other musicians in Denton. So yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So would you consider yourself, did you consider yourself a writer first or a performer first?
I was a writer first.
Okay.
I really kind of took that cliche route of, I was, as a kid, I wasn't very good with, and still today, wasn't really good at voicing things that I was going through. And so I really kind of took to writing to write down thoughts and write down, kind of talk myself through things that I was going through. And so I really started writing first, and then I would pick up the guitar and kind of start, thumbing through some chords and stuff like that, and was able to just kind of start writing a song, and I remember writing my first song, and I took it to my my mom, and I was like, I gotta play this for you. And I remember I played it for her, and her first response was, you should stick to guitar. And I was like heartbroken. I was like, I know I'm not a good singer, but did you have to say it like that? I mean, I was like 14 maybe. And so I really did. I just kind of stuck to guitar and really kind of focused on learning some stuff, learning mostly rhythm and kind of focusing a lot on the songwriting aspect. And then I just started singing. I was singing every day. I would sing at the top of my lungs in my car. I drove a lot as a teenager around, so I sang, and then really when I started playing here, I had like a decent response. Like people really enjoyed my voice, and so that was the first kind of like positive feedback that I had gotten. Like, oh, okay, maybe maybe I'm not horrible, but I so. That was kind of like an eye-opener when I started playing here. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever do traditional voice lessons or anything? Because I really feel like you have a great voice.
No, I didn't. It's like I said, I studied bass in orchestra. So that as far as like theory and music theory, it was all orchestra, for bass. But as far as me taking voice lessons, I never did, which is funny because I ended up teaching at School of Rock. I've been there for almost 4 years teaching. So I was teaching voice lessons there. So so awesome. I kind of went in like with I don't know how to run a voice lesson because I've never had one, but here we go. So, awesome. And I ended up being, one of the main voice teachers there. And cool. It was awesome to be able to see these kids kind of like the same age that I was when I started. Mm-hmm. And I like made it my goal to not to really motivate them versus how I was told, like, you should really not, sing. I was kind of the other way, like, we're going to work on this. Yeah. So, cool. I probably could benefit from some voice lessons someday.
You have a great voice. But, so something that I'm noticing from afar, but I'd be really curious from your perspective, because I feel like you're an artist that has not been, I don't know if limited is the word, but I guess categorized by a genre. Because one day I'll see you playing something on your like a singer-songwriter kind of a thing, and it's sort of bluesy, and but then I'll see you with like a folk thing, and then and so when I first saw you, I was like, oh, okay, she's a rock performer, and then all of a sudden I turned around and you were playing a folk song with Bone Doggy, and I was like, she can do both. Like, so I've always seen you have a very eclectic performance as far as who you're playing with and all that. And I think it just goes back to your talent as a somebody that can play a really good instrument.
Yeah.
But is there a particular genre that you identify with or that you want to be in, or do you feel like, man, I'll just play whatever I feel like playing?
No. Okay. I love all types of music so much, and that's why it's really hard when people ask, oh, what kind of music do you play? Which, I'm sure a lot of people will agree is like a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
But my solo stuff I always try and give it kind of like a bluesy, like soulful kind of tie-in, right? Because it's just me with a guitar. Right. I don't want to be just like a cookie cutter singer-songwriter, playing the same stuff. Like I'm not as advanced on guitar as like other people, and so I really kind of tried to make up for that with my voice.
Yeah.
And like I play bass now in Copper Root, which is a old red dirt like folk band,
right.
But then I also am playing bass for Flintlock Gypsy, which is like a rock blues band.
Yeah. And
then I'll play my like adult band at School of Rock, which can range from like metal to like 80s and everything in between. So I don't really and then at my solo gigs I'll do rap covers of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you know all of that stuff is the kind of music that I like to listen to, and I don't have a certain genre of music that I like to listen to. I just like to listen to good music.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a
Yeah.
good beat, it's got good lyrics. You know, I tend to kind of like steer towards really good vocals. So if I kind of like vibe with the singer, then I just kind of try and bring all that into my music.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. And I'm 25, right? So, you know, I have so many more years to play 10
Yeah.
different genres, you know, so
Right.
I don't know where I'll end up, but I really like being able to have different, you know, bands to play different kind of music, because each one kind of like, you know, scratches a different itch in a way.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. Well, if somebody wanted me to describe you, I mean, you command the room. Like it's command. I mean, you said you want to be different than other singer-songwriters, and you are. Like when you take the stage, you're Course Grinder. What up, brother? When you take the stage, people pay attention, man. Your music grabs people, I feel like, and I don't know if it's it just hits on a different level. And so when you're in a line with a group of singer-songwriters, like those song swaps, you just always stuck out so well, and we're just the one that was turning all the heads. It's cool. You've got a cool thing going on, and I like hearing that it was intentional to try and separate yourself from the other artists. What made you say, okay, I want to do it bluesy, or that when you wanted to separate yourself? What brought you in that direction?
it wasn't really something that I put a lot of thought into.
Okay.
I just did it. And
I love that.
I really like, and this sounds awful, but I haven't put much thought into my music. And some of the best songs that I've written in like 5 minutes. Most of my songs that I consider, that's a good song,
Yeah.
was written in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And the way that I perform and sing is really honestly not something that I put like effort into.
Yeah.
I mean, like obviously I practice my songs, and I did that a lot initially when I first wrote them, and you know, with new songs that I learned, but I'll never forget the first time that it was an open mic at Banter, and it was really loud. And I had gone up, and I think it was one of my earlier ones. I was really nervous, and I started playing, and everything just went quiet. And it was so surreal. I had never experienced anything like that. And just like everyone just stopped and was like looking at me and like listening. And it was a really important song that I was playing. So I'll never forget that moment, because right then and there, I kind of thought, like, this is something that I want, you know, to continue on with, because it was just the coolest, most undescribable feeling.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and when you say, you know, that you're not putting a ton of thought into it, or these kinds of things, I hear from artists all the time. Or creatives, or anybody that's making something. There's the times where you try and force yourself to make something.
Yeah.
And then there's the times where it just comes to you. And the time where you force yourself to do something, it might be okay. But the times where it just comes to you, you take a step back afterward and be like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know why. And I even find myself doing it today. Like, I really need to like get to writing. But all like I said, just, I've played like songwriting festivals and stuff, and I always, you know, decide to play the songs that I didn't put much effort into, and they always like, I'm always like chosen, you know, like people always really like them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I not put effort into things more often? I'm like, where does that, how do I do that more? Because I'm always overthinking it, you know, so much. And unfortunately, I guess you can't really control when that happens, or else like people would be millionaires in the music industry. So, you know, I'm lucky enough that I had like a couple bangers.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting for the day that my next one's gonna come to me. Maybe I'll just be sitting there. 'Cause one of my favorite songs to play, I wrote in the shower when I was getting ready for that first LSA gig.
Really?
Yeah, and it was.
Did you play it that night?
I played it that night, and Matthew Skinner, if you remember him, he sat there holding the paper for me, and I had this like song like line in my head, and I was in the shower when it hit me, and I'm like, I gotta keep saying it over and over again because I'm gonna forget this. I can't forget it. And I like hopped out of the shower, I wrote it down, I recorded it like on my phone, and wrote it down on paper so I could bring it to the show. And I said, oh, am I gonna play this? And I played it. And I was like, hey, Matt, I was like, can you hold this paper for me? Just like hold it up so I can try and read it. And I played it. And it's like one of my favorite songs to play. And I probably wrote it in 2 minutes.
That's cool.
And,
I love that.
And I wish that happened a little bit more often.
Yeah, I know.
But,
well, and when that inspiration strikes, like one of my most favorite stories. Did you ever meet? Were you around when Backwater Opera was around?
Mm-mm.
They're a great band. They used to play here all the time, but they're at Berkeley now. But the main songwriter for that group, I believe, his name was Robert Sherwood, and he was a cashier at Walmart. And all of a sudden, because that song, it just hits you, right? And you've got to get it down so you don't forget. And so he's got a line of people, and all of a sudden the song hits him, and he opens up the register and starts pulling out receipt paper.
He's writing
and there's a line of people, and he's
yeah.
Now that's how I remember him telling a story. He might be watching this going, that's not how it went down. But that's what I thought.
It's a good story.
His wife told me that's how it went down. So I love that story. And it's true. Sometimes those things hit you, and you got to get them down on the paper so you don't forget them.
Right.
Caleb Coonrod, who we had last week, he always tells me, the best way he always says it is it floats in, and if you don't grab it, it'll float back out.
Right. And that's why I love cell phones, because I can't tell you how many songs I've been able to write from like little, like 2-line, 4-line little note memos, or things that I've hummed into my voice memos that I've been able to take later when I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood to write. Let me see what I kind of have. And I even did that with a song I'm going to play tonight, cool. That I had like a 2-line, from that gave me an entire song.
Yeah.
So just being able to have that portable kind of like writing at any time, or ability to record something so you can't forget it.
Yeah.
Is 2019, man.
Yeah.
Technology.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Digging it. Millennials.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Global networks.
Flat Earth.
The whole thing, man. The whole thing. You heard it here first. Synergy. Anyways. All right. So we need to hear a performance from you. So we're gonna strike this interview and get you set up and do all this. So nobody go anywhere. If you're listening at Denton Radio, we'll be right back. If you're watching the video, there'll be another video that comes up. If you are listening to the podcast, just stay right here because we're going to squish it all together. But Stephanie Untch is going to do her thing. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming and doing this. Before we wrap up this part, though, any plugs? Where can people find more of your music, upcoming shows, all that good stuff?
So I have a Facebook that I keep up with, and that's kind of where I put my gigs and stuff. And I don't have a website or anything because I'm technologically, not very advanced. And I have Conrad. What are you doing? You didn't get work for me.
Our producer off camera. You can't have him.
And then I'm on Spotify, iTunes, like anything downloadable streaming sites. Sweet. Has my album. And then my music with Copper Root is also on all of those sites as well.
Perfect.
I'm playing some Denton Arts and Jazz Fest. Are we gonna air before that?
No, we're not, are we?
All right.
Darn
Well,
it. Yeah, normally these are live, but this one's pre-recorded,
Yeah.
and so we're gonna be after Arts and Jazz Fest. Sorry, everybody.
Wow.
But if you saw her,
Thank you
Yeah.
for coming. I thank you now for being there.
I love it. I love it.
That's all I got.
Perfect. Well, guys, check her out. Stephanie Untch. Super super good music.
Thank
Really
you.
excited to get to have her here playing in Denton. And thank you very much for coming and
Thank you
doing
for
this.
having
Again,
me.
don't go anywhere, everybody. We got a performance coming up from her, so stay right here. Take us out, Mr. Producer.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We want to thank our partners and sponsors who made this show possible. And now stick around for a word from all of us here at Discover Denton.